So, what happens when two media powerhouses, one from fitness, the other from politics, have a really public, really messy professional breakup? Today, we're going to break down Jillian Michaels' first-hand account of her fallout with political commentator Ana Kasparian to see how a promising collaboration, at least in her view, went so wrong. Now, it's really important to remember, this is one side of a complex story. We're simply explaining the narrative just as Michaels herself has told it. So how does a working relationship that starts with a ton of mutual respect end in a dramatic on-air walkout? That's the big question. We're going to trace this story just as Michaels tells it, from recruitment to rhetoric, to really understand the moments that she says led to their final permanent break. You might think a story like this would start with some kind of conflict, but according to Michaels, it actually began with a whole lot of professional admiration for Ana Kasparian. Yeah, Michaels actually saw Kasparian as one of the most effective voices out there criticizing California's policy failures. She was so impressed, she even invited Kasparian onto her own podcast. Michaels says they just hit it off right away, really bonding over this shared frustration with the direction the political left was taking. And wow, this slide right here, it really shows you just how dramatically that initial perception changed. According to Michaels, her view of Kasparian went from a sharp policy critic to someone with an Israel obsession, and from an intelligent spitfire to someone she ended up describing as antisemitic. From her perspective, it was a complete 180 on her initial admiration. And this admiration led directly to a huge career opportunity. Michaels makes a pretty bold claim here. She says she was the one who got Ana Kasparian her seat on a new panel show hosted by Patrick Bet-David. She even says she had to really fight for it, arguing that the team needed a legitimate journalist on board. Okay, so this is where Michaels says the turning point happened in their professional relationship. She claims that almost right after joining the show, Kasparian's entire focus just did a complete flip. Michaels claims that all of a sudden, every single show started to be about this one topic. What she thought was going to be broad policy criticism became, in her words, a relentless bashing of Israel that made her feel deeply uncomfortable with where the show was going. This slide shows the kind of rhetoric Michaels says she was hearing. She talks about being sent clips of Kasparian making statements exactly like this one. Language that she found not just extreme, but anti-Semitic and really, really disturbing. You see, her issue wasn't just about disagreeing. Michaels felt that she just didn't have the deep historical expertise to properly fact-check or debate such a complex topic. And without other experts on the panel to bring in some context, she felt like she was just giving a platform to a one-sided and, as she put it, irresponsible narrative. So all this growing discomfort and concern, it all just boiled over during one specific taping. This was the moment that Michaels says she knew, without a doubt, that she couldn't be a part of the show anymore. All right, so here's the sequence of events, exactly as Michaels lays it out. A rumor starts circulating online blaming Israel for an assassination, a rumor she points out had already been debunked by many prominent critics. Michaels protested, saying it was just disrespectful to the deceased family to even talk about it, but the show decided to cover it anyway. And while Kasparian apparently did acknowledge there was no evidence, Michaels says she immediately used it as a jumping-off point for another broad attack on Israel. And for Michaels, that was it. She walked right off the set. And this is what she says was going through her head at that exact moment. For her, the conversation had crossed a really critical line. It had moved from just political commentary into what she saw as dangerous rhetoric that could actually get people hurt in the real world. It wasn't a debate anymore. In her mind, it was just insane. So, after the walk-off, after the collaboration was officially over, how does Jillian Michaels make sense of it all? What does she think was really going on here? So this is the final question, isn't it? Why? What does Michaels think was truly motivating Ana Kasparian's intense focus and this kind of rhetoric? Was it a calculated career move or something else entirely? From where she's standing, Michaels kind of games out a few possibilities. She wonders if Kasparian was just swept up in an ideology, what some people call ideological capture. She questions if it was just about a paycheck, and she points to other commentators she feels have shifted their views for money. Or was it coming from a place of genuine, honest belief? And in the end, that's where she lands. When she's asked point blank, do you think she actually believes what she's saying? Michael's answer is a simple, I do. In her telling of the story, this wasn't some performance, it wasn't for a paycheck. It was about a former colleague who she believes genuinely adopted a worldview she could no longer be associated with. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How deeply held beliefs can fracture even the strongest professional bonds, and just how quickly admiration can turn into opposition in today's media landscape.